Alas, poor Lucchini. I knew him, Horatio, a fellow of infinite jest. He bore me on his back 1,000 times. Anyway, so, I've done something I quite often do. Got a bit of time at the weekend. Mrs. is at work, opening tree. Right? What are we doing? We're looking for holes. Holes in my repertoire. And sad to say, I found one, it seems. Right, check this out. The Lucchini. Okay, so I've been looking as black. Okay, and I thought I'd look at the Russo because I've had a lot of Russos recently. Somebody commented, like posted 3 Russo games on the trot. Well, it happens a lot because why? Because everyone plays the Italian at the intermediate level. Here we go. The Italian opening, and of course I always play a 5. Okay, now here I'm doing fine. 53 wins to black, 46 to white. Happy days. Now, this is where we get to a bump in the road, guys. If they accept the gambit, it's 19-12 in my favour. D4, I've actually done all right. D4, I think, is the strongest move, I think. But maybe it is D3. And with D3, then I have, as you know, if you follow the channel, I've always gone for the Lucchini gambit with Bishop C5, always. So this is going back like 3 months or something. I'm just looking at my recent performance. That's what concerns me, right? But it's 21-15 in white's favour after the Lucchini. Not good. Not good at all, precious. No, my love. So, what do? Well, you go back to the drawing board. So, let me take you to my drawing board. Okay, here we are in the, this is my Russo Gambit Lichess study. It has 34 chapters really, because there's one at the top for it to allow cloning. And I'm going to show you where we get to, right? So the Italian, the Russo, D3. Yeah, according to Stockfish, D4 is ever so slightly more accurate. And let us examine the... So E takes is the most common, happy days, right? We're fine there. D3, white wins slightly more. D4, white wins even more. So D3 is 52% for white. D4, 57% for white. Okay. Now, what we're interested in is D3. Now, let me just reveal, I've got my settings set to 1800 and upwards, rapid and upwards on Lichess players database, right? So it's the strong intermediate to expert level. Okay, knight f6 has been played here. Not good, my love, not good. 54%. Bishop c5, Lucchini, 49 to white to 48. So the Lucchini does well in practice, but don't do so well for me. And I know it's got, you know, a couple of really sexy lines if white goes for those lines. Now, f4 is the third try, but again, that's better for white at 54, 43. F takes e4 is even better for white. Here. Then we've got h6, and then down here we have d6 with 1,652 games, and black wins 50%. This is the winningest line for black. Okay, so that's what I'm going to use as my starting point to explore. Instead of the risky Lucchini, we're going to play this just mirror with pawn d6. Okay, so that's the idea. So the most common move that you will find here is going to be, actually, it's slightly rearranged because I added in 1800. But basically, knight g5 and knight c3 are the most common. Knight c3 more common at without 1800, so 2000 plus. And okay, so where are we? Where are we with this? Okay, so what we notice is that white has 2 eyes now on g4, and now we're going to set a little bit of a trap. Okay, with bishop e7. So we're controlling this square, but we're also kind of tempting white to go for something, which they will do quite a lot of the time. The most common move here is knight d5. And this now is a mistake. It goes from plus 1.5 to minus 0.5. Why? Well, the knight now has taken a square away from the light squared bishop. And one of the things that I'm liking about this line, hello son, right, is that it echoes in some ways the G3 Vienna, right? Well, okay, so we've not pushed the G pawn and we've not fianchettoed the bishop, but we've played F4, right? So this is, you know, what I'm looking for, because I'm old and lazy and thick, right? I would love to be able to recycle ideas, so I don't have to learn too many. So knight A5, right? Because the bishop's got out of squares. Bishop comes here, C6, and, you know, it's Trapskis. So most common move is that they will actually take, and this is also inaccurate. Okay, here we take back with the knight, because we want to, if you notice, right, this bishop, our central pawns are on dark squares. So this bishop here, he doesn't have too many good options, right? Their knight controls this and this. So this is a bad bishop, in our sense. It's got no access to this side of the board at all, with our pawns arranged like this, right? Also, notice, why do we say it's the pawns of your own colour that are in the centre, the pawns of your own colour that are on the dark chain? Dark chain? You know, in the centre, in the pawn chain is what I mean. Well, it absolutely inhibits our bishop. Whereas your opponent's bishop of the same colour could, in theory, take these pawns. We cannot take our own pawns. That's the material point, okay? Likewise, for white, this bishop is now restricted, right? It can't ever re-enter this side of the board unless pawns are going to fall. So this bishop is now restricted to a relatively small area on the queen side. So technically, this is white's best bishop in theory, all other things being equal, and this is his poor bishop, right? This is our bad bishop, and this is our good one, okay? So white captures that bishop. We retake with the knight, we preserve castling rights, and we improve our knight. You know, we've got options now for forward progress. They will most commonly, 50% of the time, retreat the bishop. We snatch off the bishop. They'll recapture with the a pawn and free up the rook. Now, this is absolutely fine. We castle, they castle. And guys, this position looks kind of familiar to me. And that's what I'm liking. That's what I'm liking about this. The Lucchini is just sharp. Now, there are lines in this where you could play f4 earlier on, but they're bad according to the engine. Okay, so most common thing here, not most common thing, we take, right? Obviously. Why? Well, we're capturing a centre pawn with a wing pawn, but more than that as well, we're opening up our rook on the semi-open file, right? Normal stuff. F5 is probably an idea. Sorry, F4. As it sometimes is in the G3 Vienna, but why not open up the centre? Okay. So what I'm liking here is I can learn an idea twice. Now we pin the knight, okay, and if they kick, what happens? So sorry, earlier on sentence got lost. Yeah, I learn an idea once and I can recycle it in many openings with white and with black. This is what I'm liking. So look here, 2 attackers, 2 defenders, okay, but the defenders are pawn and queen. So we take the knight, queen can't take, because then rook takes rook takes queen. So they have to take with the g pawn, and then after queen f6, I think is the, no, it's saying knight g6 now. Knight g6, and is probably the best move, but we are minus 3.2, and this position's been found twice at the strong level, and black has won both times. So, okay, happy so far. Let's look at a couple more, and these two we'll look at in preview mode, just because it's easier, okay? And this is what you will see when you come to this study. Okay, and now we go Rousseau. D3, we're going to reply with T6. Okay, now this is the more challenge. This is the better line for white. I mean, obviously they're going in for F7. Okay, this is played 24% of the time. So this is actually going to be the more common line at 1800. Less common, the stronger players will play more knight c3s. Okay, so we've got a problem here, right? We can't defend with the bishop because it's attacked twice and not defended, okay? But there's a standard resource here. You play knight h6 to cover this square. It's now defended twice by knight and king, okay? Their knight comes in, most common move. We have to trade off. Now we play our queen here. The only really good move for white now is bishop d5, looking at our knight. But in practice, black has actually won 70% of the games from this position. We've got a very, very decent pawn structure. We're probably going to long castle. We can do pawn storms. We can have fun. So play on from there. Okay. Next chapter, again in preview mode. I know what I'm playing here. Yes, yes, yes. Right. We used to play the Lucchini. Now we're d6 players. Okay, they castle. Okay, so I'm going to see what my octopus is telling me. Now f4 does do better for black at the expert level. But the computer line invokes a tactic in the g3 Vienna. Well, we know what that is, don't we, boys and girls? Yes, of course it's this. Now, they take the knight. They think, right, if I'm going to give up my bishop, I'm going to do it on my terms. I'm going to wreck your kingside castling rights. Okay? Now, again, most common move. We're only looking at the main line from white's perspective. Okay? Now, we're attacking this knight with the queen, but it's defended by the bishop. And now, again, we pull in the Lucchini move, f4. And this is not great. Okay? We're going to play queen h4, give the knight only one option, trade scheme. Okay? We take with the rook, so we don't lose castling rights. And that's it from this position is minus 5.8. Right, I'm just going to put that in my notes. Minus 5.8, black wins, right? Okay, so there we go. There we have it. The altered, slightly more grown-up alternative to the Lucchini, meeting pawn d3 with pawn d6. Now, in other news, something else that I'm considering as well is the possibility of whether the king's Indian defense might also kind of belong to this similar family of stuff, right? So if I just pull up a new analysis board, right? So in the G3 Vienna, now I'd be interested in your views on this, right? The G3 Vienna, we play out the queen's knight. Let's say they do this, we do this. Very often something like this and that, okay? So this is with white. And we've got ambitions of, let's say, knight here, d6. We might go after the bishop. We might play this. We might castle. And we're going to break with f4. Okay, that's the idea. Now, so this is one line. Now let us go back, flip the board all the way to the start, and look at the King's Indian setup. Okay, so what similarities are there in this? So we haven't played out the Queen's Knight. So it is kind of, from White's perspective, it's a completely different kind of setup. Although, so what's the most common moves here? We've got e4, then it'll be d6, always d6. Bobby Fischer has played castles at this point and putting the knight back on e8, but seriously, Bobby? Yeah, I mean, basically you have to be Bobby Fischer to make that work. If castle's here, then white wins 49 to 45. So, ain't the end of the world. Same with d6, to be honest. Same with d6. Okay, most commonly moves here, and now results are equal from this point. So what are we thinking? What are we thinking? It's kind of different, right? Because our knight has come to f6 rather than d7. Sorry, f6 rather than e7. Yeah, it looks like a very different setup to me. But it may be that attacking ideas in the game, including an f5 break, possibly for black, maybe develop your knight here. It could come here, whatever. I don't know. Let me know what you think. Are you a King's Indian player? Do you see any similarity with this G3 Vienna? Let me know in the comments. But other than that, hope this has been useful for you Russo players out there, and I know there's a few of you. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you soon.